Number 4, if you neglect your children to play video games, it's a nationwide news story. If you neglect your children to play the money game, it's a Tuesday.
Wow. Wow.
This podcast contains the arguably witty banter of two friends, Skippy and Doogles, that like to debate about investing. The content is intended to be entertaining and for informational purposes only, not investment advice. You should do your own research and consult a financial professional before using any of the information in this podcast, and especially before investing.
What's your hotel loyalty situation these days? Is it still hotels.com or are you doing one of the major brands?
Marriott is where I try and put 70% of my effort. Oh, no. Marriott's where I try and put 100% of my effort, but it ends up being about 70% of my effort.
As we've talked, I've done hotels.com for decades. And then Hilton had a deal and I had to buy a hot water heater. So I now have a ton of Hilton points effectively.
What do those two things have to do with each other?
If I have a big purchase coming up that's going to get me the bonus rewards for a credit card, sometimes I'll grab a credit card real quick, throw it on there, and then never use the credit card again. So in that case, it was 5 nights free at Hilton brands for a purchase I was going to make anyway. It's just Marriott's the same, right? Marriott has 8,000 hotels instead of 7,700 or whatever. It's just too much. I want to go to the city I want to go to. I want to stay at the location I want or the amenities I want. Who cares? I don't care if it's Marriott, Hilton, whatever.
Hotels.com had it on lock, man. I mean, well, they had it on lock for me. It just
and me too. And so the funny thing is I'm now gold on Hilton and I'm only silver on hotels.com. I think I'm one away from gold, but the prices are effectively the same. As we've talked about, the rewards program is not as good as it used to be with hotels.com.
No, it's god
still
awful.
Not terrible.
No, it's not god awful.
It's not that different than Marriott's. It's not. You get a free bottle of wine when you show up and 20% discount. Same
It's
nonsense.
so bad. No, it is so bad on hotels.com.
But this is my point. So what you're gonna book at Marriott and
yeah,
you're gonna be stuck. You want to stay next to the stadium and you're gonna be stuck 3 miles away.
Hotels.com is just awful. The rewards are non-existent. They're non-existent. I booked when we went to Vegas this year. I booked I think it was 7 hotel rooms.
Yeah.
Over 4 nights and got $20.
Well, no, that is I never get it that bad. I usually
it's really bad. It's super, super bad.
But so you're gold on hotels.com, right?
I'm platinum. Let me see what I am.
So normally they don't. I think what changed with the rewards program. I'm not trying to defend them. You just painted me into a corner.
I'm
here.
platinum.
The rewards program.
You see that?
Good.
Where is it?
I don't. I see it. Yeah, so you get 20% off. So do I, and I'm silver. So by the way,
no. Do you see the amount of rewards dollars?
No.
Where am I? Where is
How much
it?
is it?
Oh, what is this? What is this? No, look at the amount of rewards dollars. Here, let me hold it proper for you.
Yeah, because you just used it. I have $150.
It was $10.78. Yes, and I just used it. In the olden days, as you know, so let's go back to this Vegas example.
One per 10.
Yeah,
10 nights, one free. Yeah.
So if I booked 4 nights, 7 rooms, that's 28 nights. I would have almost gotten 3 free nights. Instead, I got $10.78. It's not even close.
Even with, I still think I'm saying that I like hotels.com better than being stuck with Marriott or being stuck with Hilton. Now I could see rocking both cards.
I prefer using it, but but the rewards are non-existent.
Yeah, but so what do? You still use it, right?
No, I go to Marriott or Hilton or whatever. I go direct to consumer. I use hotels.com to figure out where I want to stay, and then I go to the company's website and book it. That's what I do.
Disappointing.
Yeah.
Okay. So is that the biggest sporting event of last week? 5 million viewers on TV, sold out crowd.
Esports?
And not esports. And the guy in front of me, older gentleman, great guy. He pulls out his phone. And you know how sometimes when people are in their 50s or 60s, the font on their phone is massive. So you can see everything that's happening
it's
there.
One letter Yeah, you've got to scroll. Yep.
And it's a big political ad. I won't even name from which party that says, "You have not confirmed that you are voting for me. Are you with me?" I'm going, oh, that poor soul, right? And I told you I'm off all those lists. I thought 15 minutes later, my phone buzzes, the exact same text message. They're taking over the arena, man. They got all our contact information.
It's pretty wild. I sent you what I got.
Yeah.
I didn't send
Too
you
much.
what I got. What was great. So I sent you a text. It said something like, we've tried to ask you many times, all caps or something.
Yeah.
Then they sent me almost the identical text 4 hours later, except instead of many times, it said 6 times. I was like, okay, hold up. What's many? Then I go into like my philosophical place where I go, how do you define many? Is 6 many?
All right. We did not plan this in the pre-show meeting. I have a rant, but
Okay.
maybe you can make light of it. At what point, like what year, was it 2011? Was it 2017? Was it 2023? Did chief marketing officers decide that if you show any interest in their brand, this is happening in political advertising, that they have to send you 17 emails per day?
Yeah.
Like, how is there no restraint with these sort of things? I can have a purchase that I'm excited about, that I'm researching, that might, they might get my information in one way or another. I could have a political candidate that I am showing interest in. And then the only approach in 2024 seems to be, we are going to contact that person at bare minimum at least once per day for the rest of their life. In a lot of cases,
maybe beyond the rest of their life.
Yeah, I mean, like how does anyone think that this is a smart approach?
I can tell you, I've been a part of the problem. Maybe a decade ago, let's call it. It was something like that. I was running marketing at an organization, and we were sending a lot of emails. I'm just gonna tell you, that's a lot of emails. And one of the people that was working for me, she said, "Do you think we're sending too many emails?" And I looked her square in the eye sockets and stared into her soul. And I said, "Do you think someone's better off buying the competition?" And she said, "No, they're better off buying our product." And I said, "Well, then we need to be in their inbox more than the competition."
So this is helpful, and my skill set is one that is never going to be put in the marketing function of a company. There is this approach, and I bet the data backs it up, where someone's email box and their text message box is simply a billboard, and you want as much time on that highway as possible. And that must be what happens. I could be a very rare consumer. If I go to a website with purchase intent, and before I even scroll, they flash up a pop-up ad that says, "Oh, get 20% off now." I go, who wants your garbage brand if you're giving me 20% off before I even have a chance to look at the product? Like, clearly, this is broken. So that stuff turns me off. Like, I am much less likely to purchase if you send me nonstop emails and if you're constantly offering me deals, because it means you don't even believe in your brand, or at least that's the way I think of it.
Here's what I'll say. This does not apply. People, this is a public service announcement. The same approach does not apply to that person that you just went on the first date with on Saturday. Because God help me, I have had someone that has been like, she won't respond to my texts. And when they show me their phone, it's all blue from top to bottom.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that this very nice young lady, when she opens up her text messages and you have demonized what's going on there, that does not work. I do think it works in the inbox.
Oh, disappointing. And now I hate you, because hate's a little strong.
Yeah.
How dare you be part of this problem, Doogles? I'm very disappointed.
I just want to get in that wallet.
All right. Speaking of wallets, I came across a survey that I love. And we haven't done a quiz on the show in a while. This really has me fired up. I don't know why. I think because sometimes brand loyalty is intertwined with investing. And so what I came across is the world's most tattooed brands.
Okay. Like, so, this is people getting a tattoo of the brand upon their person?
Yes, upon their person. Okay. Now, the methodology I got to explain to you, because I was like, how do you, are you sitting in tattoo shops taking surveys or what?
Yeah, X-ray
The
vision.
methodology, I think, has some problems. So I'm going to tell you that. This is according to posts on Instagram. So I actually think they like trained AI to go look at all this.
Can you witness the amount of eye roll that I'm
Yeah, it was
giving you right
huge.
now?
It was huge.
Okay, go on.
Let's say it's directionally correct. Here's what's so fascinating. Positions 10, 11 through 40, there's some representation. Position number 1 is 10 times what position number 2 is. And position number 2 is 4 times what position number 3 is. So what I'm trying to say is there's a long tail here.
Yeah.
And there is one runaway brand that is by far the most tattooed. There's also a brand on that is not on this list that shocks me. I was sure it was going to be top 5. It didn't even make top 40.
Berkshire Hathaway.
Stop it. Okay. So I am going to give you credit. You're going to get credit if you get any of the 40. All right. but pretty much to win this, you have to find a way to lock into number 1. And I'm going to give you, we'll do 5 guesses to start. Okay. But you're also going to have to get like basically 4 of your guesses are going to have to be in the top 10 for you to pass this quiz. Okay.
Okay. Any clues?
Yeah. Really big clue here. These are tattoos that people got on their body of brands.
Perfect. Thank you. Just repeat the question. Fantastic.
That's right.
All right. So I'm supposed to start guessing now?
Yeah. What comes to mind?
Nike.
Okay. Nike is number 5.
Ooh, I'm trying to think of like sexy logos. That's what I'm trying to think of right now. Am I thinking in the right direction?
I mean, this might
like Louis Vuitton.
Louis Vuitton is number 20.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
so I got one in the top 10 and 2 in the top 40.
I don't know. To your sexy logos comment, I think there's some of that going on. I think it's more about this incredibly strong connection with a brand. And sometimes that's because it represents luxury or it's sexy or whatever.
Yep.
A lot of times it's just because it's like core to the being of this person's identity that is getting the tattoo.
What about something like Patagonia?
Didn't make the list.
What? You looking at the wrong list up in chat. Core to someone's identity. So I'm thinking like passion. Mm-hmm. What could number 1 be? If number 1 is that much,
you're gonna lose your mind for missing it.
Okay, no. Hold up. What about something in the gaming space? Something in the gaming space?
What about it? Yeah.
Nintendo.
Nintendo is number 2. Whoa. Great job. Number 2.
Whoa.
Okay. I will give you a hint on number 3. Okay. Number 3 and number 3 and number 4 are almost tied. Number 3, people are so passionate about it that they get together in groups, wear matching shirts. It's basically a cult.
Members only.
What's members only?
You don't remember the members only jacket back in the day?
No.
They get together in groups. It's a cult.
They like travel together.
Oh, group travel? Yeah. Viking cruises? Group travel.
Viking cruise. What? Viking cruise?
Airbnb?
Harley Davidson. Davidson. All right, number 3, Harley Davidson.
That was a good clue.
Okay, and now that I got your wheels turning on that, you ready? I mean, I think you can get you're gonna have to get number 1, and number 4 is also it goes along. It's not gaming, but it's the type of people that might really have the Nintendo tattoo as well,
like Hello Kitty or Pokemon. No,
so good guesses. Number 4 is Lego.
How do I not? I can't even. What's number 1? Man.
Okay, I'm gonna leave number 1 for a second. Let me give you some of the other names on this list. Okay. So like number 6 is Vans. Number 8 is PlayStation. Okay. 11 is Tesla. 12 is Jeep. 13 is Cadillac. Apparently 14 is BMW. Apparently we're in a car phase here. So Nike, there were 7,000 plus tattoos. Adidas is at number 18 with about 1,000. To show you the difference there. This one really shocked me. Netflix is at 21. Coca-Cola at 25.
Is number 1 a fruit company?
Nope.
Really?
What fruit company are you thinking?
Apple.
So Apple is the one that does not appear on this list.
That's garbage.
Yeah, does that seem
that's garbage?
Like I thought Apple was definitely top 5.
Garbage.
Again, maybe the way they I'm assuming they trained AI to look at Instagram posts. Maybe it couldn't identify an apple. I don't know.
Google?
No Google on the list. And come on, is that really a surprise? Did you ever think I want my search engine that's dying to be tattooed on my body?
Tell us how you really feel.
I'm so at 37 is one that blows my mind. It's Hot Wheels.
Hot Pockets?
Hot Pockets is probably at 100. All right, number one. Drum roll, please. Do you want some hints? Do you have any last?
No, go for it.
It's a media company that it's kind of cheating because there's so many properties that roll up under this one umbrella that
like Disney.
Okay. Disney has, like I said, 10 times as many people have some sort of Disney tattoo. You think about the theme parks, the movies, whether it's Mickey
Marvel,
Mouse or
Star Wars,
Cinderella,
Mickey Mouse,
or whatever. I mean, I don't think they're like rolling Star Wars up under Disney, although Star Wars doesn't have its own category. There's probably a lot of Star Wars cartoons here. But okay, I want to tie this back to investing a little bit. And I'm not saying you should make any investments off this. Like, no one should. But there is something to I love this brand enough that it's tattooed on my body. This deep connection. And with Disney specifically, I think we all have person or two in our life that seems to go to Disneyland theme parks multiple times a year, has an annual pass. Like, it's core to their identity. I don't know that there's any brand on the list that's quite like that.
That's that core, you mean?
Yeah. Well, and there's clearly not in the way that I'm identifying this, because I'm saying you have to really love the thing to get it inked on your body.
Hot Wheels.
Yeah, but when I tried to buy a Hot Wheel car to drive around after I turned 16, couldn't find one, man.
You're too big. You're too big.
All right. I will send this your way. I found this. I don't know why I found this so fascinating. I think it's tons of fun.
I'm going to grab onto the gaming nugget. Okay. Transition, reaching the fishbowl. Roblox. You familiar?
Yes. Oh, I think my family supports. I mean, I know you're going to break down the P&L. Like, I think the P&L is mostly my family. So very familiar.
The L is probably most of your family. So Matthew Ball put this out into the universe. Roblox is already the biggest game in the world. Why can't it make a profit? And how can it? So personally, I'll let you know this. Roblox, because of what you're saying, because I see the level of engagement that my son can have in Roblox, I've looked at the stock multiple times. And it just always looks so pricey and question mark. The finances they're not there yet. But
and a basic fact that people probably don't know, Roblox has been around for a hot minute time. Very long. And you know how stingy I am with profitable companies. Like, it's one thing if you don't make a profit in year 3 or even year 5. When you're founded, when your first release is in 2007 and we're in 2024, it seems like there's something core. You're going to talk to us about it, I'm sure.
Noting that back in the 2000s, so I used to, as folks that have been longtime listeners know, I used to work at the company that makes Second Life back in the day. When I was leaving that company, Roblox did a little recruiting of the Doogles.
No, this is news.
And I remember talking to now who's my wife, and she was like, do you really want to be pigeonholed in like the little kitty virtual currency gaming world? And I said, I do not. So it didn't happen. But now it's good to see that they made it, because they were newish back then. They were probably like 5 years old or something back then, or like the product is 5 years old or so back then. So
you could basically own the place, though. You realize that, right?
Yeah. All right. So what Matthew did in here, as you said, he broke down the P&L, because the question that is raised in the title is right. Like, what the heck is going on with the inability to make a profit? I'm gonna break that down. But first, what I do love he does in here is when he's talking about the biggest game in the world, he like hammers that home, how big Roblox is. I'm gonna go through a few stiggity statties. During the average day, more than 80 million people are on Roblox. One day, un dia, as they say. Monthly basis, 380 million users.
Yeah, and let's compare that to some other platforms. Sony PlayStation, maybe 120. Nintendo Switch is about 130. Xbox console is about 40 million. And something like Minecraft is maybe 180 million. Far and away, most in the world.
Far and away. Going back to Switch, 3 times as many annual Nintendo Switch users in 1 month.
And for those that have never come across Roblox, which means you don't have kids between 7 and
it means
13.
You've never seen a child. If you've never heard of Roblox.
But just for those who haven't come across it, what's incredible and the founding story, well, the evolution here is interesting, is at one point the founder says they were trying to basically make their own content. And then they turned on a switch that allowed other people to create like small games. And they realized that the creativity and the effort and the attention to detail was just unparalleled. And eventually they said, other people using our platform are better at creating things than we are. And they almost made it this gaming marketplace, which is a genius idea. This is why I've looked at the stock too. And so when we talk about Roblox, they could be playing one of thousands of games, and there's a new hot game every 3 months. I mean, that this is like, I really think in terms of daily active users, this probably has staying power.
Yeah. And part of what you just mentioned is the beauty, and as they say in France, le curse, because they have to pay those nice folks. So they end up getting hit from a couple different angles. Now let's go into the financials.
Yeah.
So they lost $1.2 billion on revenues of $3.2 billion last year. That's a negative 38% profit margin. If you look over the last few years, revenues are 6 times greater than they were pre-pandemic. Losses are 18 times greater. That is not the direction that you want. My French is just on point today. That is not the direction that you want with something like this. And the reason, to go to your point, part of the reason for this is they spend 26% of their revenues that goes to their developers. Then you have 23% of their revenues that goes to the Apple App Store and other platform fees. So nearly half of their revenue is gone before the company even operates. Like before it has anything to do with what happens inside of Roblox HQ. I rhymed for you because that's just what I do. Half out the door. Then you throw in infrastructure and trust and safety. That's another 28% of revenue. So now you're at almost 80% of revenue.
Well, and for those who say that's not an important expense, think about the parents that are trusting their kids on this platform. You can't have nefarious things like trust and safety.
Exactly.
Is if that falls off, then no one uses your platform.
28% is a large number, and you're absolutely right. That's why. So you get this situation where the bigger they get, the more money they lose. The way that it's constructed right now, something's got to give. Now, let's go back to a little bit something we were discussing before. When you look at cash versus revenue, they do generate cash. They generate cash because the way that they recognize revenue is spread out over long periods of time. Therefore, losses look higher than they might be on a cash flow basis. They generate cash. However, also half of their payments to employees, some people call that compensation, is stock-based compensation. So then it's like this, it's kind of a fascinating look at their economics, because you're like, oh, they're losing all this money, but they're generating so much cash. Ooh, but a lot of that cash actually shouldn't exist because they have so much cash-based compensation. This company is from a user experience, gaming engagement perspective. It's every place my money wants to be. From a business perspective, how the heck do you get out of this quagmire?
I wasn't able to make it through all the charts and graphs in this article. Do you remember why their logic behind recognizing revenue over a long period of time, and exactly what the period of time that is? Is that detailed?
He does lay that out. The exact logic I don't remember, but it's basically it's a conservative accounting approach. So I remember, let me go back to what I mentioned around Second Life. Like the way that we thought about this back then is you would buy You buy a piece of land, which is server space, basically, but it's represented
Yeah.
as a piece of land. Or you might buy a virtual shirt or something like that. And from an accounting perspective, they would look at the use of that server space or the use of that shirt, and
Mhm.
then the revenue would get recognized over the life of that item.
As if this is a real house.
Yeah. And so that's it's something similar that exists
Yeah.
here, and they take a more conservative accounting approach there. So you have to spread out the life of whatever that server space that you end up buying. That's the way it works.
Which I like. Now you're making me want to do a deeper dive, actually.
Yeah, you should read this full piece. He got very clever at the end when he said, "So how do you turn this ship around? Like, how does this go?" He basically said you have to increase revenue and decrease costs.
So he's a consultant. Nice work.
Yeah, yes, exactly. I said, "Oh, tell me more about that." But that is the answer. They have to figure out ways to get more people to spend more dollars per hour, right, or day in the platform, so that it can spread out over their fixed costs versus the variable.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to figure out how to either this is terrible, like when it comes to your engagement with your developers, but figure out how to pay them less or negotiate app fees. Like you got to figure out some version of those
See,
things.
I don't think that's terrible because I don't claim to be an expert in the gaming space, but where else do you go? Like it's well documented that this is the largest gaming platform in the world. You need to explain that your company has to make money and you can't make money paying them what you currently pay them.
Yeah.
But also, it's not like there's just other marketplaces. It's not like there's eBay and 10,000 competitors. This is like eBay 15 years ago when it was the only game in town.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear
And
you.
sure, competitors might flood the space, but the only way they take market share from you is if they actually lose money, and then they won't be around that long.
It's a massive moat. And I do wonder what the percentage is. Like, if we just played with that line item, the 26% of revenue that goes out to their developers, there's probably some number that if you do continue increasing volume, that it works. That might not be going from 26% to 10%. It might be going from 26% to 22%. I'm making it up. I have no idea. Pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Charts in here are really good too.
Yeah, well done. Very well done. Deep in Roblox, this individual is Matthew Ball. Can I talk about a different individual? Actually, I don't want to talk about the individual themselves, but I will mention them. So I was boarding an airplane. Are you familiar?
Done it once or twice, yeah.
Yeah. Boarding an airplane, and my eyes gandered over to the side as I was walking, and there was a gentle person sitting in their seat wearing a gentle polo with gentle embroidery on it. And that embroidery said EBITDA Growth Systems. And you know that caught my mentals. EBITDA Growth Systems.
Unfortunately, I feel like I have a lot of experience with people like this.
And I thought to myself, there's something that we talk about the nonsense of on our podcast, or the exploitation of in our podcast. And this gentleman has an entire company that is based on growing that. Maybe I'm wrong. So here's what I did. I Googled this organization. So I said, you know what? I am doing a mental injustice to this company, and I would like this injustice to go away. So I Googled the company. I go to the website. The tagline of this organization is the profitability experts. That's like what sits right under the logo. And I went, okay, all right, let me see what this expertise looks like. And what caught my eye initially that I had to click on, and we're not going to spend too long here. What caught my eye was there was this little, I don't know what you call it. There's text in a box on there that said, sales are important, but you can't truly impact people's lives without profits. That includes you, your team, and your community. I said, that I can get behind. Learn more. So I clicked to learn more. Then what popped up for me is I said, oh, these people have a podcast. This podcast must spread truths around the earth because, as they stated, they're trying to truly impact people's lives. I'm just going to read to you a few titles of their podcast episodes. Now, remember, the profitability experts. Sales are important, but you can't truly impact people's lives without profits. This is the ethos of the organization. Their last podcast episode is about onboarding, like when a new employee joins your company, onboarding.
Mhm.
Here are 3 others. The hard truth about scheduling. How to ask for a raise. Gratitude is key. How is your quality of life? How am I making profits?
And you want to comment from me?
Unless you're speechless. Unless you're as blown away as I was.
Let me peel back the curtain. I don't know how this ended up on our investing podcast.
No, how do you not? It's called EBITDA Growth Systems. That is the core of investing.
They're just creating content. They're trying to get in front of people, and then they're trying to get people that go, oh, I don't know much about EBITDA. I'm not going to call it profit because it's not, and don't get me started on the differences there. And I'd be willing to pay someone money to do that. That's all that's happening here. You should have resisted the temptation to go down the rabbit hole with this guy's shirt. I'm telling you.
Grab onto your goals.
You're still reading podcasts.
All right, we can transition. What else you got?
There's a guy named George Mack. He's from the UK. He has occasionally really insightful things. This week he posted 9 thoughts on money. There's 2 that just crack me up. Okay. We can do more, and I'll send it to you right now just so you can be looking at the list.
Sounds gooch.
First is great. A rich man is anyone who earns more than his wife's sister's husband.
Wait, like his brother-in-law?
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
But why do you take so many words to say it? It's like the day after yesterday.
He wants you to take that moment in your head to go, who are you talking about?
Okay.
And then go, oh, what happens with money is it becomes a comparative game. And that's really all that matters because of the hedonic treadmill.
I respect that.
All right. Number 4. If you neglect your children to play video games, it's a nationwide news story. If you neglect your children to play the money game, it's a Tuesday.
Wow.
First of all, I haven't done much neglect of my children to play video games, but I mean, the good part about that is usually you can get your kids to play video games with you. So, come on.
That is true. Take your kid to work day.
To play video games?
No. Yes, is that number 10?
No. Any of these jump out to you?
Money unlocked society's ability to track and measure value. What metrics do we not currently track that would change society if we could? Thought-provoking.
Yeah, so our boy Morgan Housel dunked on somebody last week. And I love it.
Gangsta.
I'll read it to you.
Gangsta.
Yeah. This guy is ranting about, here's the exact quote. You should never pay off a mortgage under 4% early, full stop. Morgan says, you should do whatever makes you happy because money is a tool to give you a better life and not an input to make a spreadsheet add up. That's a similar tone, right? And I think that's so important in terms of like, what are you playing the money game for?
Yep.
Is it something on a spreadsheet? Is it trying to be better than your brother-in-law in terms of that one number? Or is it, this is just a tool that allows you to unlock what you truly want to unlock in life?
I love that as a general rule of thumb and absolutes when it comes to money. Yeah. You should absolutely never use the word never. Absolutely.
Good. I just have one more thing. It's shout out to the listeners.
Oh, go for it.
So this week, and this now happens to me a lot. This week, I went shopping at Kohl's to buy some Nike socks, and the amount of joy I got out of that experience was just off the charts.
What
this week?
Were you using your Intel processor as you were doing?
No,
this?
Because Intel doesn't make processors for anything I do in life. I would have loved to be using an Intel. Actually, behind the cash register at Kohl's, they were probably using an Intel processor because their computers were 15 years old. Speaking of depreciation,
there you go.
This week I got a text message, happened to be from you, but this now happens to me frequently, of someone who bought something at Shoe Carnival. Like the amount of joy I get from these experiences because we get to share our investing ups and downs with the listeners is truly it's truly hilarious and it's truly fun. And so shout out for that.
I'm trying to picture the world in which you, like a day in which you can use all of your investments, like where you go and you purchase something off of Alibaba, you then invest with Janus Henderson Group, you get your car towed to the shoe carnival to buy your Nikes.
I don't own any oh, actually I do. Long ago I picked up VW, but I don't drive a VW. But if I like was purchasing a
There
VW,
you go.
it would surely break down. Then Miller Recovery Group would have to tow it. I'd probably be at the shoe carnival, even though I don't know where one is. Yeah, it could be truly game changing. And after I get my car towed, I'm gonna have to have a pint of Guinness just to, handle the long day.
Do you still own VW?
Do in an account that I never use. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like begrudging.
That is not a stock tip, people. There's no reason for you to own VW. And we don't give stock tips on the show. We only give research recommendations. But same for you, right? I mean, you could, yeah, actually, your day, because you don't own many consumer goods companies, it's tougher for you to support the companies that you own.
I'd have to get the beatus, first of all.
The beatus?
Diabetes in order to like use one of my
Whoa. Again, you continue to flirt with prohibition, but you don't call diabetes diabetes.
I think it was a college football game I was watching once when one of the announcers used that. And at the time, I was like, is this on ABC? Like, did this gentleman just say that on ABC? No, I agree. No, it is interesting though. And someone was pointing out to me, it's not that there are none, but if you go back for the last 20, 25 years and think about the organizations that have been created that are, I'll call it massive and mentally fit and financially, there are very few consumer brands that get created anymore. It's usually either non-consumery brands or B2B companies.
Yeah, so everything goes in cycles, right?
Yeah.
And I've certainly noticed that. Like, what's the last consumer goods company that's really taken hold in America and become dominant? It's very tough for me to name one.
You get the decent size, and by that and these are like successful companies. We get like a Warby Parker, for example, right? But it's not massive. Like the Coca-Colas, no one's creating Coke, but you do get these like middle-sized organizations, but no one's been able to break out. I don't think maybe Airbnb, but it's not a consumer good. But it's
it's a marketplace. I mean,
yeah.
And in a world where technology matters more, that seems to be we just talked about with Roblox, right? Roblox is a marketplace where they outsource the creation of their product, which is games, to other people. Yep. So there's been a trend. At some point that has to reverse, and people have to say, and have to is too strong, because things go in cycles. It seems likely that we get to ride the wave of people truly building like goods companies and wanting to excel at that. What I've seen so much more in the founder space is a lot of people building companies to sell. Like, do you remember the Native deodorant and shampoo brand?
Yeah.
Like got to critical mass, had decent profit margins, sold to one of the big ones. I think P&G could have been another. Like there's been a lot of that stuff where it's so taxing to compete against someone like P&G that your way to be successful is to be dominant enough that they don't like you and then move on.
I want to induce anger in my competition such that they pay me.
So they write me a big check and then I leave. I think that's really fascinating.
When was Under Armour created?
It was starting to get popular in the early 2000s.
96.
And who had, I mean, that's a fun example because in the late 90s, think of the audacity that it took to challenge Nike at anything. and they made consistent headway for a time. Now they've had a rocky road in the past decade.
Oh, Rocky Road. When was Ben and Jerry's?
60s, 70s. Anything else in your fishbowl?
I think I'm gooch, man.
Thanks for hanging out with us today, guys. We will talk to you next week.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, everybody.